record kind of thing. And um, okay, so I'll start this meeting by telling you that now we have a email ID, an official email ID, and I also created a YouTube channel on by the name of that official ID, and I'm going to share them here. Um, this is the link to the YouTube channel, and the email ID is Indian Comic Scholars at the rate of gmail.com. So the YouTube channel is named very simply Indian Comics Scholars. Okay, so this is the development that has happened just right now. I came across this earlier message that I sent in the group that maybe we could have a common YouTube channel or a common email ID rather than me recording and putting them in my YouTube channel. Okay, so ideas, opinions about how to go about it, because people who are here from the very beginning, if you remember, we had this meeting once about whether we can create a journal, whether we can you know systematically produce articles, academic or otherwise, in some kind of journal online, of course. So it's time. It's like 2.5 years of ICS, and we are, you know, we have 158 people in WhatsApp group, 105 people, and they are not different from each other from in the Facebook group also. So we are like around 160-65 people. Most of us do not really participate in most of the things, but they might. I mean, they might have some other things to do rather than to participate in this. But let's talk about how, if not if, let's talk about how we can create this journal or this anthology that Horshomon was talking about. I think we talked. I think we talked about this thing that first we should go for an anthology, like just
Yeah,
one
I'll take that.
publication once. Yeah,
I can take up if you want.
yeah,
If
yeah.
we're talking about an
So,
anthology, we need to remember one thing that
mm-hmm,
comics are divided into two parts. One is fiction, one is non-fiction. Now, so far, for those of you who have been researching into graphic novels and comics, I suppose you've mostly focused on the non-fiction part. Whereas those of us who are book readers and love comics as comics, not graphic novels, we have delved into the fictional part. Now, in this anthology, we can try and delve into both. We can focus on fiction comics as well as non-fiction comics. Since it's an anthology, there'll be short comics involved. So if those of us who are there in a group, if we would like to contribute as a writer or an artist, we can also collaborate. So, for example, if there are those in the group who would like to write scripts and those in the group who would like to do the artwork, that's a way of collaborating. Another way is if you are a writer and artist simultaneously, you can create your own full fledged comic also. But we need to figure out how much we want to do. Even, for example, if you want to write an article on a particular type of author or a particular type of artist whose work you love and would like to see in the, that shows your research, even that can be done in the format of a comic, and for which you can ask some artist to help you out for that one. But that's one area, Pritesh, we should try and discuss today, as you mentioned. I see that Ambuja and Jagritika have raised their hands, so I'll be delving into that. One thing also, after this is over, we can also discuss after this session is this part is over. We can also try and discuss a possible event we can have in different cities. Like, can I just ask all of you to one by one just answer? Who is in which city? Like, I am based in Kolkata. Pritesh, you're also the same. The rest of you, can you just say where you're based, one by one?
So I'm from Kolkata as well. I mean, I'm from Kolkata suburb. Yeah.
Okay, great, cool. Others?
I'm a research scholar in Kharagpur, but Kolkata works for me, I guess.
Okay, cool, cool. Jagritika, what about you?
Yeah, by
Shiva.
Kolkata suburbs.
You're also in Kolkata. Okay, great. Prarthana?
Sorry, same works for me also because I belong from Bengal and Kolkata works for me right now in a different state. So yeah, that's it.
Where are you right now, currently?
At
Where are you right
present,
now?
I'm in Allahabad.
Allahabad. Okay,
Allahabad, sir,
cool.
Uttar Pradesh.
Okay, okay, cool, man, cool. And there's another person in the group. I see your name is MK. So, where are you based? Okay.
Mika, you can message in the chat box.
Yeah, the mic is a problem, definitely. Sure. Cool. So, lots of us are in Kolkata. So, if you want, because I was really thinking that after the book fair gets over in the month of January, there should be some sort of a comic event. Like we recently had a Kolkata Comic Con. Achha, you're based in Arunachal Pradesh. Okay, cool. Now, we just recently had a Kolkata Comic Con. It was called the KKK, Kolkata Comics Carnival, or as some artists last year called it, Ku Klux Klan. So that happened over here, and it had a very nice response. But I'm thinking of something else in the month of possibly March, once the book fair vibe has slowly died down and people are ready to, explore more into comics. Then if we can have a 2-day session which talks about creation of comics and research into comics, where we can delve into both the creation aspect as well as exploring into comics, which all of us in the group are interested in. But that's the second point. At Kolkata Book Fair, Pritesh, a good question, but I tried it last year with a few artists and writers at the Alliance Francaise bookstall. It went well, but very few people came because in the book fair, the crowd is too much. But there is still something that can be done. If some place can be arranged at some, I don't know, maybe Alliance Francaise or the German consulate, if some place could be found, if something can be arranged, then I'm sure, but it'll just be a few of us meeting, right? So the aim is to that I was thinking of is to let more people know about Antonym Bookstall. Okay, okay. So they have a book. Antonym has a bookstall over there, right? How big is it?
It's not huge, but I guess we can start small by even if 10, 15 people turn up and we sit at a place, I mean, even within the bookstall or somewhere near it, then we can discuss like on a face to face basis as to what can be done.
See,
So that is there.
this was tried. Like I said, this was tried last year, and well, it was good. We felt good and happy because there were lots of artists and comic creators involved in this. But eventually, we felt that it was a waste of time because if we are trying to discuss comics and the like over there, then we need people to understand. In the book fair, what happens, I notice, is that people are focused on buying the particular books that they want, whereas they were least, reluctant to spend time where, and also I think the sound vibe is a problem because we tried it out last time and we could barely hear each other over the sound speakers, which were raging continually over there. But I'm thinking somewhere during the book fair, I mean, there are so many things happening that the attention span of people who will be attending our stuff might also go down quite a lot. So after the book fair, if we can arrange some sort of a get together, not I'm talking about a get together for us. I'm talking about a proper event. If something can be organized, because I am anyway having a word with Alliance Francaise to see if some event can be held over there. Now, Kolkata Literary Festival, yes, that's also a point, but that's happening currently. I think is about to happen in January, and they very rarely do we get spots over there. Pinakida has some contacts at that end, So we can try and see if something can be done that way. But that's basically between him and the contacts. So I don't see that we won't get much of a chance of doing anything there. I'm Basically, I was thinking also of a discussion between comic creators and people who are researching into comics. If all of us can come together in one spot in a 2 day event, which takes place at a big place, where we can also invite people from different spheres who would like to learn about comics and the process of researching into comics, the process of creation comics. That's one option. But anyway, I've been talking for too long, so go ahead. All the others, please share your viewpoints. Go ahead.
What
I
sort of
mean, since
activities?
yeah, okay, Ombuja, go ahead.
Go ahead, Ambuja. Go ahead.
No, sir, please continue, sir. Yeah, yeah. Like, what sort of activities are we planning to, organize? Like, something like a group activity to engage each and every member,
I'll tell you.
or okay,
Imagine it's
okay,
a
sir.
imagine it's a 2 day event, which I was thinking
Okay,
of. The day one
okay,
will be. I have written it down my diary. One second, let me just look at the diary quickly. Imagine the day one we are focusing on the creators of comics. That's the focus. And day two we are focusing on researchers. So in day one
okay.
we can have sessions from people who are working in the comics industry in our city
Sure.
of Kolkata, let's
Okay.
say. There are quite a few. In recent times, we have this Bengali comic magazine coming out, and I got to meet quite a few young creators also. And there are a few old ones who sadly they we are lost because nobody cares much about comics in the city apart from a few of you. So they can be talking about comics in general. We can have discussion sessions. There can be launch of new comics and announcement of the upcoming ones. For example, the next month, in the month of January, there'll be the Hyderabad Comic Con. And over there, one of my
Okay. Okay.
friends, we published comics called Alpha Comics, along with a comic on the history of Bangladesh to be published by Machujupta Comics. So I'm saying all of us, we are working, quite a few of us who are working in different categories in the comic field who are working with different publishers. So, unfortunately, in our city of Kolkata and also in other parts of India, people are not aware who's doing what creations are coming out. So, this will give us a chance to explain where we are working and others who are attending to also figure out who's doing what where. So, that session can be carried out over there. And also, we can announce the upcoming projects which are ongoing and which are coming. Okay, so here are okay, you shared the email and the link to the site. Apart from that, we can have a quiz and workshop by the creators can also be done. One more thing that can be done is there are lots of very nice artists and writers in different parts of India. So it would be good if we have the proper net connections to go on an online session with them. So I remember the first KKK we had last year, around about I think March or April, something like that. So I organized a session with two different sessions with five creators from different parts of India. So that was nice, except there was some communication problem, the net connection problem, and the sound was causing a slight problem. But they could hear, but we couldn't hear them too well. So if that can be done, this gives a chance to explore and let the people and the creators in other parts of India also understand that in Kolkata there is some interest that's being shown in comics. And like I said, quiz is there. We can have a quiz to get people interested. And one thing which I noticed that in Kolkata is happening quite a lot, cosplay. There are a lot of groups out here. There is the DC group, the people interested in DC comics. There is a separate group of them, almost I think 500, 600 members. Similarly, there's a Marvel group also. So we can try and also get them to see if they're interested. The one in the DC group, gentleman over there, he seemed very interested in something like this. So if we can also rope them in and also rope in those who are in charge of the cosplay, that part, then automatically we'll see that lots of people are attending our events. If they are willing to. Because so far, the events we've been having in KKK and others like that, even the Comic Cons, they're basically not related to discussions on comics. But we are all here. We want to explore the the what comics give us, what graphic novels can be uh, giving us. So that's day one. And then day two, I was thinking of a session which starts on and focuses on researchers. So, for example, let's say Pritesh, if Pritesh is researching comics and graphic novels and writing in one essay, so he can have a session about that. There can be a couple, few sessions about all the researchers in, for example, in our group who will be there for that, and you can talk about the what particular topic you're discussing, you're exploring, what you have researched, and for example, let's say one of you are researching into Tintin, and it can also be matched with an artist who has lots of interest in that. So you can have a back chat amongst yourself, and that will automatically, I think, apart from a single session, one person talking and giving his or her ideas about something, if it's a group discussion on some point, then that might be a good way to let the people in the audience, whoever's there, to feel more enthusiastic about it. So that is one thing that can be done on that one, and along with, again, the workshop can be done by the researchers. So I'm saying this is one area where we can have the creators and researchers coming together if an event like that can be held. Okay, I'll go silent right now. Go ahead. One by
Okay, sir. So I agree with your proposal. Like as you said, like if we do some sort of event in a book fair, that will become a problematic due to the the noise, the other distractions will be there. So what I was just thinking, like the workshop, as you've mentioned, some sort of like that, where the creators can come and some of the researchers can also, have a conversation with the, the creator. So that really helps, So that is fine. Like I agree with your proposal. Yeah.
great, great. Others? Pritesh, Jagrutika, Ambuja, go ahead. Go ahead.
So what I personally think is like you have too many ideas in your mind, and those are really beautiful, brilliant ideas. But do we have so much time to execute all of them? I mean, we need to, like chalk out our voice sessions, right? If
Of
that,
course. For
yeah,
example, one
yeah.
day you can't have. That's why I'm thinking if we have sessions, the sessions, instead of being one person talking about one topic, and that way ending up with something like about 15 hours going up into that, it'll be a discussion. So, for example, if somebody wants to talk about superheroes, let's say, in the comics, and the way the superheroes have changed over time. So, if you can think of something about 4 or 5 topics like that, and each topic can be given a 1 hour session, and in each session we have 4 or 5 different people discussing together. That'll be time divided equally, and everybody gets a chance to have his or her go at it. So you can pick out which particular topic suits you best. So that way, that's one way, to make sure that everybody gets a chance to express his or her views, and so that's one option. Go ahead, others. Go ahead, please. Give me your thoughts. Ajay, go ahead. Prarthana, go ahead. Jagritika, go ahead.
So, regarding the responsibility, we can divide, right? Like those who are like just Pritesh, the all of you have some sort of idea of organizing, like say for example workshop or seminar. So you have some sort of idea. So as a research scholar, we can work as the other things what can be possible for us. Like since I'm at present I'm not in Kolkata, so I cannot help you much with the things like where to book the venue and all these things. But whatever the things can be done, so we can divide the workload between us. Because I really liked your proposal, like where we all can meet somewhere, because most of the us belongs from Kolkata itself, right? So that's become the center point. So I really like that idea where people can come and we will be able to talk and with among each other. Like online things sometimes it doesn't work that effectively, right? So yeah, I like your idea, and we can distribute our works. Like suppose if I am good at doing something, so we can just give that preference what we can do. So yeah, that is what. And what I feel like regarding the role what we are doing, we should be interested to do that. It's not like something has been imposed on me and I was like, okay, I don't have time. Somehow I'll just say yes, and the last moment I'll say something like, I got something important, urgent thing. So that should not work. So we have to be serious about that thing, and at the same time, we can just say that yeah, this is my strong point. I can work on this. So yeah, that is how we can just work. Rest of the people can give their own view about this.
Another option, yeah, of course, Ambuja, coming to you. One more thing that you can try and do, all of you, if any of you are teaching at different colleges and universities, then you can run a check over there. If you can organize a session over there, where few of us from this group, we can come over and we can talk about comics and graphic novels over there. That might be one way to spread the message. Let the people know that there is a
Yeah.
community out who's researching into comics, who's creating comics, and there are so many of us right now.
Mhm.
So that can work out nicely. And for example, for this one, I've been having a word with
Yeah.
Alliance Francais this year, but I couldn't do any work because I was too caught up with my projects. But next year, the aim is to do something will happen in the month of March. So basically, like in Kolkata right now, there is a group of us, five of us. We call ourselves Mad Bongs, and we recently brought out a calendar. So it was shared on Facebook. So if you any of you have me as a friend or are friends with Saurabh from Campfire or Charbak Deepta, then you'll notice it in our posts over there. Calendar we've done. And so we were hoping that we will most certainly be part of that event, which will be happening at Alliance Francais. So I'll let you guys know, keep in touch with all of you anyway in this group. And if something happens, I would like something to come from your end also as researchers. So because like I said, so if there can be a joint discussion or two or three sessions about how the research has also gone forward, right? For example, in our country, the situation in comics is sad that we create comics, but nobody cares much. Similarly, you are researching into comics, but nobody gives much of a damn. So here is one way for us to step up and show that we are doing stuff. We are creating comics. We are researching comics. This is where our research has taken us. This is where our creation has taken us. So yeah, I'll post the calendar's picture, right, Pritesh, after the meeting gets over tonight. I'll share the post. I think for me, I think it's public, so anybody can check it on Facebook. So I'll share the link over there. For this one, we need people to know about what is happening in the comics and graphic novels industry in our country. Apart from, like for example, recently we had this festival of on science fiction in I think Japan. So one person from Kolkata went, Sid. So what was his name? No, Deep. Deep. So he is the publisher of one of the publishing houses in Kolkata, and he went out and stood for us. So similarly, we should also be there. At least somebody from India should be there at so many comic cons which goes on all around the world. But sadly enough, I don't see that happening. So if any of us in our group are in different parts of the world, then it should be up to us to, at least be there and portray what is happening. Because I'm seeing right now lots of Indian comic creators, writers, and artists are doing good on a global scale. So we're seeing Dev Malia, who's doing some good work, Tadam, who's doing some good work in Marvel, DC, stuff like that, as well as lots of Indian publication houses. But sadly enough, nobody cares much. So we have to, and for example, those of you who are researching into this and your articles and write ups are coming out in different books, it would be good for the fact that you are doing this work, that your work has come out here, over there, etc., is good for us to let people know. So in this event, in the 2 day event, what I'm thinking about is the creators will talk about the works that they are doing or the works that are getting published by myriad number of publication houses. And the researchers will talk about the articles that you are writing and or the articles that have been published in recent times in the different things like that. So yeah, so good, Pritesh. So for this, we have to be, on the move, and we have to show to the people what we are doing. Otherwise, the population in our country is like, if they don't know who you are, they couldn't care less. We have to step up and show them that something is happening in this thing, in the sequential art business. Because right now, I just got back home about half an hour back from a kids event. My two kids, 7 years old, they're girls, and they started playing table tennis. So this was a 15-day event that they had at a place called Children's Little Theatre near Thakuria Bridge over there. Brilliant event. But when I checked with the kids who were playing over there, what their knowledge, they were kids of different ages. Let's say some were starting at the age of 4 to kids who were even something like 12, 13, 14 years old. When I asked them about their knowledge and interest in comics, there I found a flat, very little knowledge of comics. And my kids, they don't read DC or Marvel or anything like that. No, but they somehow have liked manga. So we have to try and tackle the mindset of the kids also, as well as the adults, of their parents, and what they are doing. So if we can somehow reach into that and explain to them, for example, the idea of the manga culture, I'm not saying it's bad, but you should also respect your own country and the work that comes out of here. If somehow we can, explain to people what comics are. So, for example, those of you who are into the research area, if you can tell people what comics are, what graphic novels are, and how to explore which are the ones they should go for instead of sticking to, let's say, one comic hero or one comic character, how they should explore different things, then that might be a way to break through in this thing. And for the readers to get more interested in this field, which they, are not terribly much in alliance with. But go ahead, guys. The rest of you, please go ahead.
Yeah, so we all agree that no, I mean, all of us here, at least present here, I mean, all seven of us, we need to agree or disagree to the fact or to the idea that we are going to have either an anthology, or by a long shot we are going to have an online journal. Do we all agree to that? If we do, just write yes in the chat box. Like, I am writing yes for both the ideas. Like, first we will go for the anthology, which, according to my understanding, could be a combination of both academic and creative um, endeavor. Like, the first anthology of ICS, or the first anthology could be based on um, you can write an academic article in it, and or you can create a comics, and or, as Horsho said, that your research article can be in the format of a comic book, like in a sequential with images kind of thing. In fact, there are theses which are in the comic book format. So, since we agree that we will create an anthology, we will create an online journal where we can express our academic views, our creative expressions. So, for that, uh, what Horsho is saying, that for that we need to meet somewhere, like physically, which will be done as we discuss. And people who cannot join that physically, I mean, uh, Ombuja, Srimoy, Ajay, me, and Horsho, we are meeting on 7th. So we can do something like that. While we are discussing on a break or something, Prarthana, Ambuja, and Mickey, uh, we can you guys can like be there online, and we can have a a kind of a online offline hybrid meeting
A good
where we
idea
can.
for the event we are having on the 7th. So,
Yeah.
in it, for those of us in the group who are not present in Kolkata, if they would
Hmm.
like to join online, is it possible for them?
Yeah, why not? I mean, I could carry a laptop,
Yeah, yeah.
and I could like make it. Oh, okay. Ombuja is also coming on 7. That's great. We could like make this whole session a kind of a YouTube live, maybe a Facebook live kind of thing.
Yeah.
I don't know how it works on WhatsApp. I don't know if it works on WhatsApp, but it can work on YouTube or and like the Indian Comic Scholar group. It can be like the whole event can be live fed into the these channels.
Mhm.
Though there will be a concern about um, internet,
Mhm.
because somebody in my group, my friend list was saying that can this training be a part of, can this workshop be done online, and I said that it can't be, because I need to double check with Bishwadipda. Yes, Ombuja, I'll come to you. Uh, but on my own effort, on my own, I can try to like do a bit of it, or we can try to pool our internet resources and do it, or we can record it as well, which can be done without internet. But also that requires a lot of space and stuff on the devices that we are using,
The
but
problem
we will do it.
is
Yeah.
that it basically in the sessions we'll be having in that event, that I'll
Hmm.
be giving the people who are participating a list of duties, right?
Okay.
So
Okay.
it's important for me to look at what they're doing as I
Mm-hmm.
and as I'm, let's say, I'm drawing on the board. If I'm doing something,
Mm-hmm.
then the
Mm-hmm.
people who are participating are also simultaneously doing something. So for those
Mm-hmm.
who are on the spot, I can go over to you and check out what you're doing. But for those who are online, won't it be difficult for them to continually show me what they're doing? Because they'll have to have their sort of a mobile cameras or whatever pointing to us there. Actually, technically, it can be done, but let's see.
Yes.
If you're
Let's see. Yes.
online, if you are part of it, if you listen to us and if you're doing something, maybe you can share whatever you're doing, the creation you're doing, the writing, the script, or the artwork which you're finally doing. If you can share at the end of each break, each session, then that might be one way we can still move it forward like that. Because that's
Yes. Yes.
an option. Because there are lots of creators in different parts of India also, and we should try and focus on the whole instead of just
Yes.
who are there on the spot at the moment.
Yes. Yes.
Just
Right. Very correct. Ombuja, you want to say something?
Actually, sir, I'm getting pretty nostalgic while attending this session because you might remember, like last year, you and I, we were like planning for this anthology thing, and I've been calling fanatically to all the Kolkata publishers, but they were not ready to publish a bilingual anthology. And I mean, almost a year later, not even a year, like almost few months later, we are like planning for our own anthology. So I'm getting pretty nostalgic, and I'm so happy for this. I'm so happy to be a part of this. And once again, I just want to add, like, do we, I mean, are we planning for a bilingual anthology again? Because as I mentioned you earlier, like I work on comics from Indian subcontinental areas. So I have lots of Bangladeshi comics in my dissertation that I discussed over. Nepali comics I have, Pakistani comics I do have worked on. So is it possible to make it bilingual?
definitely, I don't
Um.
see
The
Yeah.
anthology one, yeah.
there might be one problem with India. Is very nice to have bilingual comics in languages, but the aim would be, I suppose, when we are publishing this, right? We'll have to naturally pitch to a publisher, let's say Penguin or Random House or HarperCollins, whatever. And from what I've seen of these publishers, they will, this is India after all, they will stick, they'll ask you to stick to only one language. And that language is generally not English. So one thing that can be done is you can mention this comic is the storyline is actually in this language, but we are adapting it and we are changing it. So, I'll give you an example. So, for example, lots of comics that I make for a magazine called Strapazine in Switzerland, I do the comic artwork, I do the scripting in English, but they translate it in the German language. So it depends where you are, the language that is running right now. So we can start off by taking all the comics, from different cultures, like you were saying, which is very nice. And so, for example, like you were saying, you can take a story which is of in a different language, convert it in English, use it right now, and later on, when we are using the language that you are focusing on, we can get all the other comics also. Will that work? Pritesh, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, see, I will try to be very harsh and practical. Whatever we do, we need two things. One more than another. We need a lot of time from participating people, and in my experience, I have seen that most of the people do not participate. I mean, including me. Like I am also guilty of that. But the thing that is in my mind is to go for this anthology and journal all at the same time or one step after another. So is it possible, like today, right now, that is it possible for us to like decide our roles in an anthology that could be bilingual, and now we have a possible publisher which I did not have any access to earlier, that is the Antonym magazine, okay, which Horsho knows a little bit about also. And this event on the 7th is actually sponsored or organized by the same magazine. So we might have this opportunity to go for bilingual or monolingual publications. But the thing is that I want us all seven or eight, whoever are here right now, to decide upon our roles as to how individually are we going to um, give our time, what kind of time are we looking at, and what will be our role for that one time publication, which could be then turned into a kind of a magazine or journal. Say for example, I myself, since I have dealt with procuring ISSN and registration stuff. I mean, I have not been successful yet because it's a long run process. But I can give my time. I can shoulder the responsibility for uh, acquiring an ISSN or a registration for the online journal thing, which is not required for the um, anthology. For anthology, what I can do is, I think, and Horsho can do it better than me, but I can take that responsibility of becoming the in between for the write ups and the creative work and the magazine or the publishing house that I already talked about. Um, However, that the magazine is not interested in intellectual ramblings and articles about and academics on comics. They are more interested in creative stuff. Okay, so that will be something. However, I will take the responsibility. I am ready to take the responsibility of procuring the ISSN, the registration, and the to work as a bridge between like one particular publisher, that is Antonym, which will be interested only in graphic stories, as Horsho said, being adapted from one language to another or bringing them into a sequential format. So I can do that. Will you guys come forward and take up one or other responsibility like this? Say, for example, Pratna or Ajay, since you are in the university structure, you're working as scholars in universities. What you can do is you can try convincing your departments, your university, for some kind of logistical support to this endeavor. And So in the similar way, Horsho can be our artist. He can bring to life the stories that we are we think that can be good enough for our publication. Of course, Horsho might have his say about the remunerations that we are supposed to provide to him, but that is a different issue. So I want the division of labor. I mean, if it is feasible, if it is doable today within the 6 7 of us, I think that will set us on a path of something solid being created. Yes, Ambuja.
Yeah, I'm extremely sorry for the background noise. Sir, I absolutely agree with you. Uh, what I think would be really helpful for all of us is like a list of work. I mean, a list of responsibilities that you want us to be shouldered by, and I think we can like tick our boxes accordingly. I think that would be more easier for all of us.
No, I
So
mean,
here, I'll just bridge in Pritesh with one thought that for, let's say, the anthology we are planning. So right now, it's the main, generally for anthologies, there is a brief idea of the subject matter. So this can be kept open right now. Only one thing which you mentioned, which I agree with, is for the time being, since we're doing, if we are pitching to antonym for this one, then let's keep this fictional. So fictional, if you, all of you who are in the group right now with us, if any of you have any ideas as to what story you want to do, which also in a way reflects upon the research you're doing on, for example, if you're researching into one particular type of comics or one particular type of narrative, if you can try and weave that, your knowledge of that, into a storyline, then you can create, you can script the comic yourself. You can also draw it yourself if you want. I can help from that end, but and or I can put you in touch with other artists um, in Kolkata and elsewhere who can collaborate with you. So that will be one way of, for example, for this one, imagine we are planning an anthology of roughly around 100 pages. So in that anthology of 100 pages, it'll be good to have at least 10 comics over there, each comic being 10 pages long. So if that happens, so would each one of you tell me which area you would like to focus on? Would it be a script writing position or an art position? Go ahead. One by one, go ahead. Pritesh, start with you.
yeah, I mean, ideas. If you want me to talk about ideas for, I mean, that graphic anthology, which will be completely
No,
creative.
not the idea. Not the idea. I'm simply saying, imagine we are doing a graphic anthology, right? Let's say we're doing a
Hmm,
comic
hmm,
anthology, which will have
hmm,
100 pages. There'll be
hmm,
roughly around 10 or 11 comics. Each comic will be,
hmm,
let's say, 9 to 10 pages long. So
hmm.
if that is okay with all of you,
Yeah.
then give me an idea. Do you have in mind what you want to do? Do you want to script? Do you want to draw? Do you, or do you want to collect data and work with a scriptwriter or artist? So you just let me know what do you have in mind.
Um, I already have a we have a material for anthology called, I mean, it's called Tales from Sundarban, and
Right.
nobody found
Right.
any kind of publication for that, so we can improvise on that because I already have a story written and created, because I can't draw. I mean, I can't even draw a single line. So all I can do is I can write scripts, or I can work with script writers.
Cool.
Um,
Pritesh, let's say
yeah.
story, you have a story already in mind in your head.
Yes.
So let's say you need
Yes.
a script writer for that. We'll have to find an artist for you. Cool. Go ahead. Jagritika, go ahead. Your turn. What would you like to be part of this? If so, how would you help?
Can I just get 5 minutes that I can reach home?
Sure.
5 minutes.
No problem. No problem. Okay, Ambuja, go ahead.
Okay.
Ambuja. Okay. Ajay.
Uh, Sir, I am I wouldn't call myself an artist, so I don't know if I can help in that area. but maybe more from the ideas side actually.
Okay. So are you participating in that workshop on the 7th?
Yes, sir.
So those who are, so basically that the aim in that workshop is to give you an idea as to how you can create yourself. So even if you are not in the drawing part, at least how you can script your own comic. The process of scripting is not terribly tough. It's very simple. I mean, right now in our Bengali group, we have one of our members, Sumit Surai, who was also with me in Shwandesh for a long, long time. So he hasn't scripted a comic before. But on the drop of a hat, when I asked him to work on a comic for me for the Bengali magazine Shwandesh, where we took one Tenida story and we made a comic out of it, a 5-page comic out of it. So I explained to him the quick, simple process of scripting, and very quickly he helped me out with it. He turned out a script in 2 days' time. So it's a very simple process. As long as you have your mindset to do what you think you want to do, if you have a story in mind and if you can take care of the scripting, then you can always collaborate with an artist who will take your work forward. So that's the way. So just because if you think you can't draw doesn't mean that you're done for in the field of comics. You can always create. And especially if you're doing research in that field, if you're looking into comics, exploring comics, that'll give you lots of thoughts and ideas about the different types of comics which are created all over the world. So that's that. So we will hear from Jagrutika later. Uh, the others go ahead, please, one by one. Okay. Okay,
Sir, I am interested in the creating a comics, but then like, would it be okay if I attend the workshop first and then I will let you know?
yeah, sure, of course, not a problem. No problem. Yeah, Ambuja, you were audible, no problem. All cool, all cool. Okay, go ahead, guys. Yeah, Jagrutika, go ahead. Go
Yeah,
ahead.
yes, this is Srimoi actually. Uh, my
Okay.
point is,
Cool.
I myself and Priteshda, we actually started to think of an anthology on Shundaban first.
Nice.
And then it went for certain things, and we didn't find any publisher, and it didn't work actually. So
All
we
right.
have the part of this that anthology. I mean the parts of stories and narratives we what we had in our mind, we have already that in our stock.
Okay.
So
How
that
many
is
were
that
there?
is one thing. uh, yeah, am I audible?
Yeah, I can. We can hear you. We can hear you. How many stories were there in
Okay.
that anthology? The ones that were.
Pritishda, we got like 10 or 15 stories, I think. 9 or 9 to 12, between 9, yes, 10, yeah. So I have my own narrative uh, on the basis of Shundabon, and I have that. But there are certain other ideas and concepts I still have in my mind, which I want to put into in graphic narrative form. The
Sure.
point is that I used to believe that I am an artist because uh,
Hmm.
up to class 12, I had fine arts and crafts in my uh, syllabus, and I worked on drawing and painting for a long time,
Hmm.
uh, since childhood. But when I started to put my ideas into graffiti form, or into the painted version of narrative, I found it to be very difficult. Uh, it is one. It is one point which I want to, draw my focus on. Another thing is, um, what my intention is to bring the folk media, folk genres, folk art forms
Hmm.
into the graphic narrative forms. It
Sure.
is just my idea. Not necessarily that it is possible. It is not necessary that it has to be possible or it has to be done. It is just my idea that if we just can work on certain things which are based on the folk Indian media genres. So
Can
I also found, yeah,
go ahead, go ahead.
yeah, and that is the another point which I found to very difficult to put onto the pages because uh, whatever it is, uh, Maithili or Gond or whatever, or Pahari or Himachali or whatever it is very difficult to put into the painted narrative forms. So I have these ideas. I mean, there are, of course, the ideas are plenty when a meeting happens. But uh, because last time when we started to work on
Hmm.
this thing, it actually failed
Mm-hmm.
or it actually succeeded into this meeting. I mean,
Hmm.
if I just be positive.
That's it.
So,
Don't worry about that. I mean, there are always projects which are planned, which start off like similarly. We had planned
mm,
anthology, the works of
mm,
Way. So there were a team of about roughly about 10 artists and 5 script writers. We had planned
mm,
this, and
mm,
after even doing a sample of about 8 pages from
mm,
me, Charbak, and one other very good artist from Delhi, its project fell flat because Sandeep Ray, he asked for almost 4.5 lakhs for the copyrights for the stories we were adapting. So projects can fall flat for different reasons. Don't worry about that. Doesn't mean that you should stop. If you have an idea in your mind, definitely try and take it forward. And so this one, since you were working on this, the two of you, then you should certainly take it forward and see it bloom again. So if you had, let's say, 10 stories, so in this
I
one that we're thinking of, we're not limiting you that it has to be this particular topic or that particular topic. It's remaining
mm,
completely. So, for example, if you and Pritesh, you have a couple of ideas in your mind which you would like to transform into a comic, that's always good. The others, let's say
mm,
Ambud and others, Ajay, if you have some other thoughts, some other story
mm,
ideas, you can try and take them, build it into fruition. That's not a
mm,
problem, problem at all. But it'll be good for us to have a meet where hopefully more people from this group will attend. This
mm,
today, I can understand. This is right now holiday time, right? So end of the year, so everybody is moving around, traveling hither and thither. So chances of people meeting today was were pretty low.
mm.
But last time, I think that we had a pretty decent chat with almost, I think, 10 people, right, Pritesh, in the last meeting.
Yes, 12.
Well, so see, and we reached a halfway mark today. So at least that's something. So if the others, maybe for this one, one of the anthology, you share in the group, and let's see who's interested. And if because one thing that is a problem is you are focusing on writing, then who are you getting to do doing the artwork? Because I would prefer that you would all of you, those of you who are into research, even if you can't draw like let's say Jim Lee or the big artists, you have an idea in your mind as to the story you're constructing, right? Doesn't matter the form of art. That's what I tell me those when I'm doing workshops in comics. What I say is like I recently did a workshop in not in Kolkata but outside Kolkata, Rabindranath Place, whatever. So there, Shantiniketan. So there, I met lots of artists and non-artists also. But even those who were not falling into the category of artists, they churned out very interesting works of art. Everybody, we all in our mind have an idea as to how to create a character. But if someone tells us create a Batman right now, then we fall into panic. Oh, but I can't draw this or that. But you certainly, all of you, you certainly have an idea of human characters or objects in your mind. You have to. You're making plans. So all of you, you have. Yeah, Jagrutika, go ahead. I think your hand is raised. Saying something? Go ahead. Okay, your hand expression said fine, cool enough. So I'm saying it would be good if all of you would try experimenting with the art yourself also, instead of relying on a different artist. You can always look into artists. I can try and connect you with a few artists here and there that I can do, who would be matching what sort of story. Once I get to know what stories you have in mind, I can try and link you with different artists. That's one way to get the ball rolling. But I would suggest for this one, try and do the storytelling and artwork yourself. That's always one taking one step forward in the right direction. Go ahead, Ritesh, take over.
Yeah, so what we have agreed in this small group, that there will be an anthology, and since it will be a more of a creative one, we can come up with our ideas, and um, the publication part we will pitch to this magazine or this publishing house, which is in general interested in graphic novels, and they have something in mind that they want their they want their science fiction short stories, short fictions, turned into a graphic format. For that they would need um, people who can turn them into a script format, which can be done by Ajay or which can be done by me or Ombuja. And then there could be artists or semi artists like Shrimoi, who can turn them into their brand of art. Um, yeah, so we will we might discuss this further, and we can end this discussion today with this idea in our minds that this is going to happen, this graphic anthology is going to happen, and
Just one
we
thought,
can.
Ritesh, if I
Yeah.
can interrupt you for one. Sorry. This one thought. This anthology is cool, but I'm also thinking, since all of you are doing research in comics, right? Could you just all one by one just tell me what you're researching in, each of one of you, what your main theme is in the researches you're working on right now? Like, let's start with you, Pritesh. What is there any research you're doing in comics currently? If so, what is it on?
Yes, my research is on, at this point in time, it's on Indian comics. Indian comics, I mean Hindi comics of Raj Comics, especially,
Hmm,
where I am trying to
hmm,
bring out various aspects of the Raj comics. For example, I wrote an article recently for an edited anthology, which
hmm.
is based on this comic book character called Blind Death, and this is on disability.
Okay,
So my present research is on Indian comic books, Hindi comic books produced by mainly Raj Comics.
cool, great. That's you. Okay, others one by one. Ambuja, you're raised hand. Go ahead, Ambuja. What are you researching on right now?
So I'm researching on comics from the Indian subcontinent, as I mentioned earlier, like comics from Bangladesh, India, Nepal, and
Oh,
Pakistan, precisely.
great, great,
And
perfect.
uh, yes, I'm trying to find out like how feminism and queer feminism has been represented through these comics, and they have debunked stereotypicality. I mean, the stereotypical representation of women. Yeah.
Cool. Okay, the
Yeah,
others. I
and
want- right?
so I have another question, sir. Actually,
Yeah, sure.
we are talking about anthology. What's the time frame like to chalk out a story and then the drawing? So, I
Imagine
think
each of you, let's say, take up a 10-page comic, right? So
okay,
imagine for the scripting, you'll get a month. And whether it's you drawing it yourself and coloring it yourself, I think for this anthology depends upon publisher, whether they want it in black and white, gray tone, or color. Different publishers have different requirements, so we can always check this one as to what is suitable for them, for their purposes. So imagine the scripting takes roughly around a month's time, because in scripting it means not only delivering the script but also before that planning the storyline, planning the characters. And for the art, for the 10 pages, if we give the artist, whether it's you yourself who's doing the artwork, or whether you're choosing one artist, I mean, among your friends or colleagues or somebody that I or Ritesh can help you link to. So the artist should take about 2 months for the 10 pages. So that way, the good thing is the anthology, if you have 10 participants, 10 different stories, then there is a decent chance that in 3 months' time or 4 months' time it can be finished. So that's very speedy, I would say, if it happens that way. But one thing I was thinking, Pritesh, that we can try and think of two anthologies. One, the one that you're talking about, right, which Antonym will help us with, is where we are delving into fiction. But I'm also thinking, given this group and what all of you are interested in, I would love to create a comic anthology which focuses on theory of comics. So, for example, each of you are delving into different parts. So, for example, like Pritesh, you're talking about Raj comics and the like. I think a documentary style comic on the history of Raj comics will also be of good use. Similarly, for example, Ambuja, what you're dealing with right now, the storyline, the stories, and comics used in other parts of India, especially in the recent in Bangladesh and other parts. So it would be good to showcase what you're doing in a comic way, in a comic narrative. What do you think? Because I think that thing might work. Jagritika, go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, the first thing I want to point out that is, I'm not working on comics. I'm
Okay.
working on the sequential narratives. I
Mhm.
mean, my work is actually on Potachitra Katha
Sorry, come
and
again.
the Bengali folk media genre,
Mm-hmm.
Potachitra Katha,
Okay.
and just based on Bengal and the Potachitras of Bengal,
That's cool, huh?
and
Oh, that.
yeah,
That deserves a
yeah, that
comic.
is no. Yeah, that is sequential narrative part. I consider and I do not consider both. I mean, the Potachitrakatha as comic. So that's a critical part. Okay, and my focus is on the representation of women mm, regarding the culture industry and other certain things. Uh, but my point is. Uh, Whether I can be included or my theoretical works can be included. Uh,
I
I mean, into this anthology. I mean, that
see,
is
but
one point. I
personally, I would consider Padachitapatha as also a part of comics because you're telling a story in a certain way. So
yeah.
technically, this also you're in the same field. Don't worry, you're in the
Hmm.
and if you can create a documentary style comics on Padachitapatha, I think that will be a very good thing because all of us.
Actually, for yeah, last time when we started to think on that, I mean, I myself and Pritesh, when we were talking on this project and we were thinking on this, actually, my focus was that only. I mean, I wanted to create graphic narrative which is based on Potachitra Katha. I mean, the media, I thought that it would be Potachitra. But, you know,
In the comic,
yeah,
I
it
think
didn't work actually. Even I myself, what I mean, I created on pages, that was the Potachitra media. But yeah, it was not done.
no,
Uh,
okay, but it
that is
can.
one point. You are giving so much of positive vibes that I'm feeling very hopeful and optimistic now. Okay, another point which I find, I mean, uh, to be very important for me to ask you that what do you think that these folk genres of India, are they surrealistic? I mean, it is just a byline question apart from this. I mean, just a critical question I want to ask you.
Yeah,
Do you
go ahead.
think the folk genres of India are they surrealistic in terms of representing certain things? Uh, if we consider Potachitra Katha or Pahari, uh, can you
Realistic.
connect surrealism with Indian folk genres or folk art media? Do
Well,
you do you connect?
yeah, yeah. Well, I know a little bit about it, not too much about it, but it is partly realistic, but not completely, right? They take a different art form altogether. So, like in realism, we have to depict what we are
No,
seeing.
I'm not asking about realism, but I'm asking about surrealism.
Okay. My knowledge on that isn't that high. I'm just telling. So there, I think Pritesh, you should step in. Go ahead.
Um, you see, Indian art forms, especially
Mm.
Pottochitra Kotha, which predates these silly isms a long time. Uh, I won't even care if it is surrealistic or realistic. I mean, Pottochitro is, I think that cannot be described by these Western ideas, because surrealism is a Western idea.
Mm.
I won't describe anything Indian. I mean that old like Pottochitro uh, by European standards. So I mean, you can fit Potochitra, because Potochitra is a very flexible form of art. You can fit it. You can make surrealistic art out of Potochitra, but you can also argue as to why or how Potochitra can be surrealistic. But is it essentially surrealistic? No, it is not.
Okay. Okay. And thank you so much.
Sure. So, guys, for this one, Pritesh, so let's try for both anthologies. Huh? The one anthology which we are doing for Antonym, where we're focusing on fiction stuff, and one anthology we can try for non-fiction things, which I don't know, which might be easier for those in the group, where you're talking about the points in which you're researching. So you figure out which what do you want to do the comic on and share with us, and we can get back to you. What do you think?
Yeah, that is great. But the thing is that most of us in the group do not draw, do not make,
Like it?
we cannot
No, no.
paint or draw.
Uh,
So finding, pairing and pairing the researcher with the artist will be a task. And another thing that usually puts us off is the money involved. Like,
mm,
there is no money for us to pay to the artists.
right. So,
So that is the problem with the, thing. That is the gap.
mhm,
If we can solve that, fine. But in my experience, it is always this problem with money, that if you have money, you can, like, hire an artist for your work. But if you do not have money, people will not be very interested. So how do you think that can be solved about the money issue?
that's also there, but I'm just thinking if we can pitch to a publisher. Let's say if you have ideas,
Hmm.
if you have, let's say, 10 different story ideas, and this is
Hmm.
basically falling in the non-fiction category, where you're
Hmm.
discussing 10 different topics, let's say even 7 different topics,
Hmm.
which you think are all of you in the group, those who will be in part of it. If you think something really needs to be done, for example, like Jagati was talking about Potachitra. So let's say Potachitra, you want to do one comic which talks about the history of Potachitra in India and let's say Bengal, and you want to talk about it in the form of the comic. So one thing is you can reach out to the publisher. So we can pitch to a few publishers, do that one by one. So I'm there. I can help as an artist for one of the comics, one of the 6 or 7. But directly, like you said, without the payment option, that can cause a problem. Yes, true. But same, like I'm saying, you can also experiment in the comic media yourself. If I give you a workshop on drawing, won't that make it a tad easier? Won't you like to experiment with that?
Yeah, I mean, sure, we can do that. And I mean, the workshop will tell us how we can even create our you know articles.
Hmm.
We can turn our articles even with stick figures. We can try to do that. I mean, what is Diary of a Wimpy Kid?
Right.
So
Exactly.
yeah, we
Exactly.
can do that.
Exactly.
Yes.
So that way,
Right.
if you're because right now comics that we see, sadly enough, in Indian comics, they're all you don't see many comics about the history of comics in India or the stuff that you're researching into, do you? You don't. But in the US, at least, something like this is being done. So, for example, there are people who are researching in different fields and who are also getting, but like you said, it also depends upon who's doing the funding and stuff. That problem creeps in, sadly enough. But if we can get the publishers to take care of that, then that might ease our pressure a little bit. So, for example, I can try and locate and find out a few artists who would be interested. And if the publishers can, but again, question is who will do the publishing for this? Because something like this is solely needed. I think if you are delving into different fields of art and comics in India and you're researching into that, then that should find print. People should get to know about that. But again, the problem is who will do the funding. If that can be done, then I think that we can take this forward. But in the meantime, let's start off. Let's start off with a fictional one, where let's get that ball rolling that way, and we can next move into this. So one by one, one step at a time, and certainly do. And if we can get some other artists also to join this group, that might be taking it one step forward. So the artist will be also interested in doing something creative over here.
Yes, we can do that. So, if I try to summarize whatever we
Yeah.
discussed for more than an hour, is that we are going ahead with the anthology, and there could be two parts or two different kinds of anthologies. One which could be one is on creative, like where we already have some ideas, and another would be where we have material and we need to turn them into a kind of a graphic format of research. Yes, Ombuja.
So I know a few people, I mean, they're students and they do the illustration thing for their own joy.
Hmm.
So, if you permit, I can also talk to them, ask them. I don't think they would mind the money thing, but I think they would do this I mean, out of sheer joy or like to be a part of
Nice.
this
Nice.
anthology thing. So, I can
Very
talk
good.
to a few of them if they, I mean, if you permit and if they agree to be a part of this.
Cool, cool, cool. Nice. Nice. That's always good. Good, good. I
Yeah,
think
I
that's
mean,
nice.
you don't need to take permissions from us to do something good. Yeah, just go ahead, like talk to them about this, and if you can pair people with ideas and brush, do that. I mean, that's great.
Cool.
And so I actually wish to, like try my hand in painting for my own comics that I would love to, like pen down for the anthology. If
Nice, nice.
that's possible. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, yeah, cool enough, cool enough. That's what we need. See, basically, comics, the idea of comics is you're getting whatever idea you have and you're bringing it out. Doesn't matter how good you are at drawing or how good you are at painting, that's not the most important. Main thing is conveying your story, getting it out in the minds of the people, letting people know what you're thinking. Style, big difference. Right now, nowadays, the comics that are being made, let's say in Europe, most of them are coming with brilliant artwork, but some of them are coming with less than some of them have such interesting storylines that people don't care much about how good the art is anymore. They care about the story. The same here. So just because you don't have an art style which you are so confident with, if your story is good enough, if you're telling the story in an interesting way. So, for example, a simple story of, let's say, I'll give you an example. If I'm telling the adventure of how I went to Park Street day before yesterday and I found a huge crowd and I couldn't even move in it, I couldn't check out the brilliant lights which Park Street adorned with. So I can tell it in many, many, many ways. Now, this is where a comic is different from, let's say, a storybook or a film. In a comic, you can explore that same thing in multiple ways, in multiple divisions of panels, multiple pictures, different variations. So that is what you have to figure out, and that is one area where you can even take photos. Imagine you take photos and you put them together, compile them, and create a comic that way. Or you can simply use your pencil and do whatever sketch you can, in the using the stick figures format. Do that, but convey your story in a totally different way, in a new way. That's the spirit of comics. That's, for example, in the group which we are doing right now, we are trying to see if we can explore comics in a slightly different way. If that happens, that's the idea. That's the one we hope. But thanks again. Very nice to have a group meeting after almost a month, right? That so many of
Yes.
us came together. And after that, let's hope in the next
Yeah.
meeting next month more people will be there, and hopefully at least the anthology thing will get started off. And give it more time. I think, like in the anthology, I planned an anthology about almost 7 months back with a group of 8 artists and 8 writers, and it still hasn't started because we are still waiting for the script writers to give the story ideas, and we are waiting for the artists to picture to figure out which comics, which stories they'll stick to. So starting something is the toughest one. That's the toughest part. So if once it gets started, it'll start happening quickly. But it's good to know that we have Antonym over there if they take care of the publishing of it. That at least keep us in an edge once the thing starts. Right now, all of you think about ideas. what story ideas you have in mind, if it's a fictional one, and reach out to the others in the group and see how many of them are interested. One problem that might be there is in the group, how many people are there, Pritesh?
158.
So yeah, so we can't have an anthology of 158 stories, right? So it'll have to be churned down to, 20, or like I was thinking 10. But
Yeah.
problem is, if let's say of the 128 or whatever, if at least 50 people submit their ideas, then how are we to choose which to take, which not to take, without making those whose story which have not been selected? How do you end up not making them feel horrible? That's one thing we have to think about.
Yeah, I mean, it's like college service commission interviews. You can always stay in the wait list.
So who will you choose? Because it ends up the ones who are not chosen. Imagine if I was there, I would have felt horrible if my idea was not taken, but somebody else's idea was. So how will you get that thing taken care of? One option is there though, that imagine you have, you said 120 people in the group, right? So imagine from that we are
158.
assuming
Yeah.
158. So
Hmm.
let's assume that of the 158, at least 140 or 120 of them are willing to do something good for this anthology thing. Or let's say even 100 people are interested in anthology. Then what we can try and do is we can divide it into two. It can come in a magazine format where in issue number one, we pick out, let's say, 20 stories. Each story is roughly around 3 to 4 pages each. So 20 stories of 4 pages each, where the main thing is you don't have 10 pages to work with, you have 4 pages. So quick come, quick serve. So you have 4 pages to work with to churn out your story and, showcase it. In issue number one, which comes in month one, 20 stories are picked out. In the next issue, 20 more stories are picked in. That is one way that nobody ends up feeling bad that my stuff wasn't taken, but somebody else's was. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, that works. But I think not many people would ultimately end up giving us some solid thing to work on.
That's so
So yeah, I mean,
that's the
10, even
pressure.
10 would be very ambitious. But I guess out of 150, 10 might come ultimately as solid things to work on. So
Okay.
yeah, I mean, let's go ahead with this. Let's
So
go
what you
ahead with
can try
this.
and do is in the group you can share just general message that we were discussing this and we were
Mm-hmm.
thinking about anthology. So
Mm-hmm.
how many of you are interested? And just so like you gave a Google form, right? About
Yeah.
to discuss who we are. So you can put an idea, a Google form over there. So where those members who want to participate in that, they can fill out. Like for example, those of us who are here right now. So we will naturally put in our names and we'll mention, right? That we'll take part in the scripting, or let's say for me, I'll take part in the drawing of one comic of this and that. So I think that's one way to get it started. Let's at least do that and see how many positive responses we have to that, because it should be done and I think it can be done, especially if we have a publisher who's interested in publishing us. Why not? Let's give it a shot.
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Great. So yeah, do that. Let's do that then.
Yeah,
And
or we
Mhm.
can work on the basis of themes. I mean, if we
Mhm.
sort I mean, I mean, if it comes out in journal form,
Mhm.
so if we just base our works
Let's be
on
careful for this
themes, I
publisher.
mean,
We have to do it in a fictional format. That's one of the necessities, I think. Isn't that the case?
yes, he Antonym is not interested in
Non-fiction.
theory of comics or academic
no, I'm
stuff
not.
on
I'm not
comics.
saying so. What I'm trying to
Mhm.
say is, if we just base our works
Mhm.
on the base, I mean, if we just create it on the basis of themes. I mean, as we just started to think it uh, on, I mean, comics or narratives based in Sundarbans. And if we can think it in like some political narratives or some narratives which are based on certain other ideas. I mean, on the basis of thematology, uh, I
Mhm.
mean, some parts, I mean, it can be thought like that. I mean, uh, so the people can be sorted. I mean, everybody cannot have ideas on everything. I mean,
No,
so
no.
Oh,
See,
so
you can have
you
different themes. There is no theme being, in, for, you know. There is no theme being implied out here. You can pick out whichever theme you want to work on. Just make sure it's fictional. That's all I think being clear. You can do it in any theme you want. Just a fictional storyline, right? I think that's what's required.
No,
No,
I think she's trying to say
Yeah.
that we should have a fixed theme,
Okay.
yes,
and
yes.
people will
Okay. You
either
can.
be interested in that theme and they can interpret that theme in any way they like, unless and until it is
You,
fictional.
you can, sure. But this is what made our the anthology, the one I told you about, it flop. Because the first pick was science fiction. What would happen to imagine the world 30 years from now when we technically expect the world to be completely finished? And that's what we finally decided in our group of 16 members. And eventually, 7 months passed without nothing happening. So just be careful. So I'm saying a theme, particular subject always helps. But I've seen the repercussions of that in recent times. But give it a shot. I don't see why not. Maybe in this group it'll work out. In the other group it didn't. I don't see why not. We can
Yeah,
certainly give it a shot.
the
But
only thing that is a problem with creative work is, and I find it difficult in my case also, is that we do not respect
mm-hmm.
deadlines. As Indians, we are born deadline breakers. We do not take things like seriously, which is not, which does not threaten our jobs. Um, the thing is that
Mm-hmm.
we can have a theme, or we can like make it open. And what we can do is, and this is directed to Srimoy, what we can do is we can have an open theme, people will submit, and then we can divide it into themes and sub themes, because they will be writing on something. I mean, there would be people who would be writing on nothing, so there will be a theme of nothing. So in that way, I hope that
Why don't you do one
helps.
thing? Why don't you check in the group? Why don't you mention in the group this is happening? So if
Mm-hmm.
you have any, like you did right earlier, so you were asking about which date we will have this event in. So ask for people to submit ideas for themes. Now, let's say
Okay.
if we have at least one theme being similar in two or three cases, two, three people saying this theme. So it's got automatically it gets registered over there as something more than one person is interested in. So we can try and make a list of possible themes then. Let's say we pick the five themes from there. Or I think somebody, this one is the tricky part, how to choose themes. Because, like I said, go for it. But it'll be
Okay.
good if you disclose or let people disclose the themes that they have in mind. That might
Mm-hmm.
cause less problem at the end.
Yeah,
So, for
sure.
example, if you have an idea, Pritesh, what you can try and do in the group is you can mention that we are looking forward to pitches for firstly for the theme. And here is one idea. This is my idea for the theme. So once the others in the group, the 150 others who are not present today, once they see your theme, they'll know where you're coming from and they'll respond hopefully with something like that. So I think that's one step to take it. That's one way to take it forward
Okay, cool. I'll do that.
by giving them
I'll
an
make a
example.
poll. Yeah.
Go ahead. Cool, cool, cool. So let's hope that more people respond once you share that in the group, and once we have a head count of at least 4 or 5 theme ideas, then you can create the same Google thing where we can vote and figure out which theme is taken. So the maximum votes will obviously win. So it'll be easy for us to pick out a theme that way. And once the theme is on the way, then those of you who are interested, you start. We'll figure out a timeline that this is the date within which you have to submit your ideas. And so there, if you want, I can try and help. But I'll have to sit with one or two of you in the case to figure out which stories will go into the first issue. That can be done, I suppose.
Okay. All right.
At least
So
let's give it a shot. Let's give it a shot.
yeah,
Let's give it a shot. We haven't
sure.
started it yet, but you said the last time you tried it, it went short in some way. What was that exactly?
The Sundarban thing?
Yeah.
No, we have all those 10 stories. I mean, we
Mm-hmm.
have 10 stories. The total amount of the pages amounts to, in A4, to 53 pages without the covers.
How many?
and
Two
it's a
fifty three.
good, yeah, it's a good volume, but publishers are not interested. I mean, I have tried and failed with some 20 to 25 publishers. None
Okay.
of them are interested, including Antonym.
Are you
uh,
saying the theme is not correct? What is their problem?
the problem is artwork. They are saying that there are artworks which is amateurish, and that will
Mhm.
not attract a lot of readers, and it is not simply up to the mark. The artwork is not,
Okay.
so that's why they are not interested. But I am
Okay.
trying to go for a Kindle publication, so it will not matter anyway. um,
Okay.
so
Okay.
that's what went wrong. I mean, this publisher finding thing, as Ombuja was also saying that
Mm-hmm.
I and Ombuja were talking about this anthology, bilingual
Mm-hmm.
anthology, and
Mm-hmm.
she has tried and failed to convince any publishers yet about
Ajay,
doing
sure, sure,
this.
sure. Mm. Ajay will have to leave right now, so no problem. We'll anyway be wrapping up in about 2 minutes or so. So cool.
Yeah,
Thanks,
yeah,
thanks everyone. Thanks for your presence. Thanks for being there and discussing comics.
sure.
Here's to hoping that this